Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first live chat with the co-founders of TeleportDAO, a trustless, secure bridge solution. My name is Chang Lu, and I'm an experienced Web3 researcher and ecosystem builder. I'm very happy to have the co-founder of TeleportDAO, Ali and Yushar, join us today.
Thanks for having me. So I studied computer engineering in UK. I graduated 2010, and then I worked for a company briefly in Vancouver. And then I found my first company, 2011-12. And then after that, built a couple of more companies, acquired, and then been in crypto since 2014-15. And I kind of built a bunch of stuff, invested in a few companies. But last year decided, co-founder with Mahir and Nisha to build Teleport because we believe building a trustless bridge is crucially important. And that's what I'm excited about now. And for the past year, we focus on building this.
Great. Yeah. So you mentioned that you have worked on some startup projects before in the crypto space, but over time you transitioned into focusing on the bridge solutions. And so, what excites you about bridges?
Great question. So for the past 4 or 5 years, I primarily focused on investment. So I invested in early stage, seed, and Series A, both crypto and non-crypto. So I've done many investments. What I came to realize is that the world would be multi-chain. So we will have different blockchains, L1s and L2s, for different purposes. High security, high throughput, lower security for different reasons, right? We're gonna have permission, not permission. So in order to bridge all these cities or different islands together, you need to have bridges. And the current solutions are completely broken. They are very centralized, or they have weak security. They don't have robust systems. So I thought my impact would be better if I actually go back to operation and build a company rather than making a passive investment. So that's why I think Nusha and Mahir are the best people who could build this protocol, and that's what we decided to team up to do this. I think one of the pieces that it could be very important in this space is having a trustless bridge, because there are huge ecosystems, Ethereum, Solana, Bitcoin. There's a lot of different chains, and they are not connected. So there's value kind of locked in different chains. If you unlock the value between data moving seamlessly between chains in a secure manner, I think you're going to see a really interesting application is going to be built on top of it. So that's why I thought Teleport will be built one of the core pieces of this ecosystem.
Exciting. Yeah, so you just mentioned the concept of multi-chain. And I know that in the crypto space, people these days have some debates about where the space is heading towards. Some people believe that the multi-chain is going to be the future. In the future, we're going to have multiple chains operating on parallel to each other, and some people believe that that's good for the industry. But then some other people think that it's not efficient to have multiple blockchains. We just need to have a few dominant blockchains that have the best functionalities. So, what's your position on this? Do you feel that multi-chain is a future that we need to pursue, or do you feel that actually we just let all the blockchains compete and then let a few dominant blockchains emerge?
That's actually a very good point. So I believe that there are some limitations on blockchains. As we all know, there's a trade-off between scalability, decentralization, and security of blockchains. So we can't have these great blockchains with high security and high decentralization and be able to have high throughputs and make them scalable. So the solution here would be to either have some multiple layer bonds to get higher throughputs, or have this one great layer one and build many layer twos on top, so that we could increase the throughput, increase the number of transactions, and make them faster and cheaper. So in either of these cases, I see that we will have multiple layers, either there are layer ones or layer twos. We will have many of them, and in both cases, it's very important to be able to connect these layers together. So that's one thing, I guess. And the second thing I think is that so different blockchains have different features. For example, we have the whole like DeFi on Ethereum. We have like many NFTs on Solana. We have gaming on Flow. I don't know, storage on Filecoin. And these are like different use cases for different blockchains that like they're their main focuses. And it's very important to be able to connect these different use cases together. So they have already adopted this specific features. And it's very important to be able to connect these like different ecosystems together. So we will have this, like we actually now we have this different ecosystems, and we will have multiple layers. So it's very important to be able to connect all these layers and ecosystems together.
Yeah, so that's a great point. Yes, right now we have a lot of layer 1 blockchains already, and these blockchains focus on different use cases, right? Like Filecoin focuses on storage, and then like Flow focuses on gaming and NFT, and different user cases will probably require different designs of blockchains, right? So it's probably impossible to have a giant or master blockchain that has all these kind of user cases or functionalities, and so it's probably for that reason it's probably inevitable that in the future we're going to have multiple blockchains operating in parallel to each other, and if we have that, then we will need connections between them, right? So, and I think that's where the bridges will come in. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. Bridges are the solution for this connectivity. So there are different approaches to bridges, but like the main thing is that bridges move data from one blockchain to another, which enables interoperability between these layers and these different chains and blockchains.
Yeah. So bridges can connect layer 1 blockchains, but can also connect layer 2, layer 3. So it can operate across different layers.
Yeah, actually it depends on the technology of, for example, layer 2s, but if there is a chain, and like in most cases you can see that there are, like, for example, I don't know, proof of work or proof of stake chains, you definitely can connect them together, like with different approaches. And there are some solutions that you cannot directly connect them to the different chains using the current technologies that we have, but we will have different solutions for that as well.
Okay, that's very cool. Yeah, so Ellie, do you have something to add here? Like, what are your thoughts about bridges and why bridges are so important?
I think Nusha nailed it. I think we basically want to be market neutral, if you think about it, right? We don't want to, we basically want to enable that value move between chains, right? That could be L1, L2s. And we'll try to not have favorites, even though we might have some favorites, but I think we're going to have different blockchains, and we want to make sure Teleport kind of enables any sort of blockchains connects together. Obviously, we have to prioritize how we approach a market, but we think if there is a security here and high throughput here, if you want to move, you want to make sure that you can connect it, right? So that's our value. We want to be to think of it as an infrastructure play that connect any blockchains together.
Okay. So then I guess bridges are like the physical bridges that connect two sides of the river. If I'm not sure if that's a correct imagination, but let's say we want to build bridges across the river, and I think we will have some considerations, right? Like we want to make sure the bridge is very safe, it's secure, like it doesn't collapse after a rainstorm or something like that. Yeah. So on that note, like what are the most important considerations when you design a blockchain bridge?
Yeah, definitely. As you mentioned, like safety, security is very important. In blockchain bridges, actually I can say that that's the most important thing, because I don't know, for example, you can see that many of the biggest hacks are in the question world. So that's just how important it can be. And like when you see the size of the stolen tokens, like the value of them, you can see that like they're huge. So it's very important to care about the security of the bridges that you use for your application or your other personal use, for example, to wrap tokens. About this, maybe I can like break it down to see like how bridges work, and then we can see like what we need to like focus on when we want to use a bridge. So there are mainly two approaches to build a bridge. It's validator-based bridge, and there are live client-based bridges. So what bridges do is that they move the whole data from one blockchain to another, or like move a portion of data, but enable users to be able to like access the information on the other chain. This way, messages can be passed through different chains, tokens can be wrapped, there can be multi-chain or cross-chain applications built on top of this bridge. To move this data from one blockchain to another, there are like some verification that need to be done, for example, to make sure that this data actually comes from the source chain. To give you an easy example, let's say you want to connect Bitcoin to Ethereum. So on Ethereum, you want to access the data of Bitcoin. In this case, when someone moves some data from Bitcoin blockchain to Ethereum blockchain, you need to make sure that, for example, this data is actually in the honest blockchain of Bitcoin blockchain. It's not malicious. It's not something that the miners don't agree on, the miners of Bitcoin. So some verifications is needed here. In validator-based bridges, the validators are the nodes that do this verification. So they see the data, they make sure that it's honest data, it actually belongs to the like real honest blockchain, and then put it on the target chain. But on the other hand, there are some like light client solutions that build a light client of the source chain on the target chain. So here, all the verification is done in the smart contract, is done on the blockchain. So everything and the security is tied to the underlying blockchain. So here, if you want to get the highest security, you need to go with light client bridges. But if you care about, I don't know, speed or cost, you might want to go with validator bridges. And about speed, I don't mean the speed of like moving data. I mean, so to build a light client bridge, there is some engineering effort that is needed, but maybe this engineering effort is less in validator bridges. So a validator bridge can be built between two new blockchains and get updated faster. So if that's what is important for the user, they need to go with validator-based blockchains. But if security is important, they want to get the like underlying blockchain security, they need to go with live client bridges.
Well, that's a very deep analysis. So I heard that a lot of bridges these days are being hacked. And the reason that they are being hacked is because they didn't focus on security very much. Is that correct? Or
I can briefly kind of mention, and Nisha might go to details. I think it's a trade-off, right? I think a lot of bridges rushed into the market by focusing on the growth. So by growth, I mean like going after TVL, making sure that they get the most capital on a bridge, right? And they had to compromise a bunch of designs, right? Obviously, I don't think anyone, putting a fraud on the side, I don't think anyone meant to design something really weak. I think they just said, hey, you know what? We prioritize growth, moving to the market faster than taking it slow, thinking through design and making sure it has a high security, right? So I think it's a trade-off. And you see a lot of bridges had multi-billions of TVL, but they didn't probably have the most robust security or kind of decentralizations, right? So it becomes a honeypot. It becomes a place that hackers can, with enough time, can exploit it, right? And we saw like 600, 400, $200 million were hacked, right? We taking a different approach, even though obviously we love growth, but we saying, hey, we want to take our time, making sure that we design something is is completely decentralized, and we want to reduce our exposure. Means our, as a central entity, we want to reduce our exposure to get hacked, right? So everything is, we're trying to put everything on chain, so then it would increase it. Sure, there might be some issues down the road, but we want to make sure the whole system is designed in a way that there is not a one honeypot you can go after. Maybe Nisha can talk about validator or relayer, right? So if you have validator bases, there's entities you could potentially go after. I don't know if you want to go in details.
Yeah, exactly. Like as Ali mentioned, there are like different trade-offs, and you have to choose like where you want to stand, and then you can make sure that like by choosing the correct bridge, you can make sure that your needs are met here. So like in many blockchains, the most important thing would be security. For example, I think people who go with Bitcoin or Ethereum are more concerned with the security and decentralization of their assets. But like maybe in some blockchains that is mostly used for gaming and NFTs, like you would have other concerns. Like maybe you have a blockchain that gets updated very frequently. So in this case, you might need to like go with a validator-based blockchain. So that's all about your needs and the trade-off.
Okay, so I guess security is really a strong focus of TeleportDAO. And how do you achieve maximum security in your design? Is there any specific approach that you are taking, or any specific method that you use?
Yeah, exactly. So we use a light client solution, which means that we implement a light client of the source chain on the target chain. So every verification on the data is being done by the blockchain in the smart contracts, and everything is the code itself. So we don't have like external validators or like a third party to verify this data. All the verification is done in the live client on the smart contract, and that's why the security of the bridge is tied to the security of the underlying blockchain. For example, let's say that you're connecting Bitcoin to Ethereum again. And in this case, the light client of Bitcoin on Ethereum won't get hacked unless Bitcoin itself gets hacked. So you can see that the security of this light client is tied to the security of Bitcoin and Ethereum themselves.
Okay, so what does that mean to an ordinary user? Let's say I'm 50 years old and I don't know much about blockchain and cryptocurrency, but I want to start investing in Bitcoin and exchange some of my Bitcoin to Ethereum. So if I'm going to use TeleportDAO bridge, does that mean that I need to install a light client software on my phone, or
maybe I can jump onto that. So
yeah,
the way we kind of designing Teleport, think of it as two approaches, right? The technology itself, the consumer should not be aware of it. I mean, like they could obviously be aware of it, but like we want to make it as visible as possible to make it easier for the people. Let's make an example of it. You and I are using Zoom. How does the Zoom built? I have no idea. I just press the button and just join Zoom, right? I don't really know how it's built, right? It's probably using so many APIs, so many libraries behind the scene, but you and I as end users are not aware of it. What Zoom does for us is make it very easy for us to use, make it convenient, make it secure so somebody else doesn't join a call. There's a lot of things, right? But also Zoom is also a platform that other people can build application on it, right? So they have a marketplace, they have developers and so forth. That's the way you should think about Teleport. Teleport itself has a core protocol that enables data moves from one chain to another chain, right? And we have two set of customers. One of the customers is developers. We want developers to come and Teleport, build application that makes data move around. But initially, we know our chain, we know our protocol better than anyone. So we build the first products, right? So we build the first 2-3 products that uses Teleport, that you can swap tokens, you can change token, exchange tokens, and so forth. So we have a product called Teleswap, which an end user, as you mentioned, is like a older person can come in and say, hey, I have a Bitcoin and I want to get wrapped Bitcoin, or I have Bitcoin, I want to get Ethereum. That's the user would see. They don't really need to see what's happening behind the scenes. So we will do all the magic and make it as easy as possible for user to use it. So the question is, why the user will use Teleswap? The current solution is this. Let's say I have Bitcoin, right? The way I can get the Ethereum is I have to use my Bitcoin, move it to the centralized exchange, deposit that, and then either sell it for US dollar, get a US dollar, buy Ethereum, or swap my Bitcoin to Ethereum and take the Ethereum, because these are two different blockchains. They're not connected, right? Well, millions of people do that now. But it turns out with the recent FTX events that the central exchange could go down. It could get hacked. Could be mistrust. There could be misuse of capital. So there is a lot of trust you put in there. By the time you put the money there, you might not be able to take out. What Teleport does is building is that, hey, you can do the same functionality without trusting any single person or entity. You don't need to trust us. It's a code which will be open source and everyone can see. So you can essentially go to Teleswap, which is basically an interface for the online blockchain. Anyone can essentially build Teleswap. It's a site that we built, but anyone can build it because it's built on a portable, right? So you can come in a trustless manner. You can put your original Bitcoin, your native Bitcoin, and get Ethereum out in different chains. So that's the purpose. So you say, hey, you don't need to trust a single entity. You don't need to trust us. You can just trust the code, and you can take the same functionality.
Oh, okay, that's great. So you mentioned Teleswap. So the Teleswap is the user-facing application.
Exactly.
That TeleportDAO has developed.
Yeah, exactly. And we will have a few of those products to showcase how teleports work. But you're right, Teleswap is a user-facing application. Think of it as a website. It could be a mobile app that users goes there and it connects his wallets or her wallets and can change asset cross blockchains. And the behind the scene is will be Teleport main protocol will be running.
And so Teleswap is just one application, but if developers understand the TeleportDAO protocol, they can also build their own bridges based on
they could build their own. They could build different applications on different blockchains using the bridge, right? So like, let's say you have an idea. Let's say you have a game between I don't know, Polygon and Ethereum, right? And you want to do something specific, but you want to move data across. So Teleport does it for you, right? TeleportDAO does it for you. It has the data ready between the chains, but you could figure out a way to build applications on top of a Polygon and Ethereum. So you could do that.
Okay, that's amazing. Yeah. So
I guess maybe I can mention something here. Is that what is the end goal? The end goal is that we want consumers be able to use different blockchains without realizing they're using different blockchains. That is the end goal, right? Because now, as you said, it's very, very complicated for the user to work with different blockchains. You have to have different wallets, different seed phrases, different nodes. There's so much stuff you need to do. And like, we don't do that in a Web 2. When we're using applications, we don't figure out how the things work. We just use it. So what we want to do is we want to make it easier for developers. We will do it initially, but we want developers to build these applications which are seamless. They have great user interface. They have user interactions, but it leverages different blockchains underneath, and the user does not need to know what's happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, exactly. So since you mentioned the key product of TeleportDAO, the Teleswap, do you feel that this is a good time to showcase the product to our viewers or to our potential users?
Yeah, we'll be live in like a couple of months. So I think that's the best to wait for it to get launched, and then every user can go there and experience it themselves. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and to give it progress, so we're going through the audit now. As we mentioned, we really focus on security. So we spend a lot of time now with the auditors, making sure that the contracts are fully audited. We kind of go through every single line, making sure everything is kind of bulletproof. So it should be ready for the mainnet in the next couple of months.
Okay, looking forward to it. Yeah. So I guess when the mainnet is up and running, and when Teleswap app is up and running, for end users, if they want to exchange the Bitcoin to Ethereum, they just need to download the Teleswap app, and which will function like a wallet to some extent, from the perspective of the end user.
No,
and
the user doesn't need to download anything. They essentially go to Teleswap, the website, which will be live, and they need to connect their wallet. So you connect your Bitcoin wallet and Ethereum wallet. So you don't need to download anything. You already have your wallets, and say, hey, this is the wallet I have, which I have 1 Bitcoin, and this is the wallet that I want to receive Ethereum. They're completely different, right? So you essentially send Bitcoin from your Bitcoin wallet to Teleswap, and then immediately you get your Ethereum on your Ethereum wallet. So essentially, it's very seamless.
Yeah. So that's like an ultimate user experience, right?
Exactly.
It's so easy for users, and users will love that. Yeah. So I guess you mentioned something like in the future, we really want to kind of avoid the scandals of centralized exchanges, right? A lot of users put their money, put their cryptocurrencies on centralized exchanges, but centralized exchanges could fall down one day, just like FTX. And but if users can actually exchange the cryptocurrency directly from chain to chain, then they don't have to go through the centralized exchanges. But I guess what we have right now is that the centralized exchanges dominate the crypto space, right? If you look at the biggest actors in the space, a lot of them are centralized exchanges. And so, in your view, like how can we actually transition from this current state where we still have lots of powerful centralized exchanges to the state where we can just make transactions from chain to chain directly?
Actually, I think it's all about users' preferences. I can say that like centralized entities are good or bad, but I can say that like there were some disadvantages with centralized entities that made blockchain to be built in the first place. So we had decentralized entities with some problems like single point of failure and probably less transparency and some stuff that happened to many of these entities, like what happened to FTX. So that was the main reason that blockchains were built, to remove this third parties, to remove the need for trust. I believe that this continues. So because centralized entities have their own advantages as well. So maybe they're faster, they're cheaper, they're more convenient to use for some users. This would be the preference for some of the users, but we always have the other type of users that prefer decentralization, that prefer custody of their own assets, and they care about interacting with trustless applications. And I believe that for this type of users, decentralization and security is very important. And eventually, when seeing these advantages and disadvantages and comparing these, I think that many users will change their decisions from using a centralized entity to a decentralized one. For example, what happened, your example, what happened to FTX maybe made many people skeptical about using centralized exchanges at all. So they want to own their keys, they want to own their assets, they don't want to delegate their decision making to anyone else. So here, decentralized applications becomes more important. And I think that's how this awareness increases and users can make better choices.
Oh, that's a great point. Yes. So I guess that means for builders, we just need to continue to build trustworthy and secure solutions, so that over time, the users will figure out which solution is better, and then they will change their mind. And they will know, okay, sometimes maybe it's not a good idea to use centralized exchanges, and it's important to be able to transact between blockchains directly. Yeah. So I guess this is the first live chat with the co-founders of TeleportDAO, and very limited time. We already touched on a lot of topics, but I guess there are some things that probably I didn't ask, but it was super important for the development of TeleportDAO, or for people to understand what blockchain bridges are and why they are important. So anything else that you want to add, or you want to comment on, or you want to mention?
I can just say, and then you can jump in. Well, I think building a trustless, decentralized bridge is extremely important, because we've seen that most hacks happen on bridges, and people do rely on bridges. If we're going to have seamless application in the future that is going to use a lot of different bridges, a lot of different blockchains, a bridge is crucial to have it. And I think we're working on that. So we would love to developers, consumers, come and give us feedback. And if you have any questions, we're more than happy. We're always happy to answer. So we're hoping to go live in the next 2 months. And so let us know if you have any questions or if you have feedback, or we're more than happy to incorporate into products.
Great. So if I'm a interested user, how can I get in touch with you?
Yeah, so we're pretty active on Twitter. We're active on Discord. And I think you can just reach out to each of us, and we're more than happy to get back to you.
Okay, that's wonderful. And Yusha, anything you want to add?
Ali explained it perfectly. So yeah, I think that's all. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you so much.
And thank you. And we look forward to the next chat.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll do it again.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.